Today we're going to be going over the Army values, sexual assault, and sexual harassment. Our learning objective, can someone please read the first bullet for me?
Identify the Army values and how they relate to the characteristics that define the Army profession.
Someone else read the second one. Go for it.
Reflect on the impact of sexual harassment and assault on individuals, units, families, and the Army community.
And last but not least,
identify how acts of sexual harassment and assault are in conflict with Army values and the characteristics of the Army profession.
thank you very much. Now, before we go on, right, I gotta give my disclaimer. There's a video we're about to watch. Some people might find it very offensive. Some people might find it hard to watch, right? And some real life experiences of some people who were sexually harassed, assaulted, right? So if you feel like you're gonna have a hard time watching this video, please take this time and exit now. Values that your group came up with, and how sexual assault goes against your values.
Sorry. Honesty, telling the truth, being earnest. Honestly, it's pretty obvious. You have to be honest with people around you, your peers, your family. You don't have that foundation. Being earnest, sincere, and serious at the same time. So whenever you have a serious discussion, you have to be straightforward with the person. Respect. That's obviously something everybody wants to have. You earn it. You work hard for it. It's either if you're in the Corps, in school, JROTC if you were in JROTC, and treating others the way you want to be treated in order to earn that respect. So if I treat you with with kindness and whatever the rainbows and colorful flowers say, but whatever. Just treat the people that you want. Treat the people the way you want to be treated. Obviously, with respect, honor, loyalty. That basically falls under respect. Honor. So whenever I talk about honor, it's like doing something correct, having integrity. In order to honor a certain person. For example, I wash dishes in order to honor my mom and my dad and to make them proud. That's the way I look at it, of course. But honor is a different definition for everyone. Loyalty, allegiance to something or someone. It can be to the United States of America, us, for those who are pursuing. Loyalty to your friends, being there for them in bad and good times, or a marriage. Please don't ever get divorced. I'm kidding. Hard work, giving your all towards ultimate goal. For example, for all the green sticks in here, working hard for your Black Hat or Ranger Challenge, or us as recruits, working hard to get recognized and to earn our next privilege. Perseverance, overcoming an obstacle in the face of adversity. So, giving your all even though you're feeling like crap and you're running in this peaking test, you think, oh man, I don't want to do this right now. So just pushing yourself, or whenever, for example, you're a green stick or you're in PT with your platoon on a Saturday and you're running up Mount Payne and you're like, oh my gosh, my calves are killing me. I don't want to do this. You just push through it and do it. Discipline, having appropriate character in the time of need. So obviously discipline is a big thing for us as a recruit, and I say that whenever it comes to discipline, you have to like they tell us, flip the switch. You can have fun at this appropriate time, and then just flip it like that. Also, well, it's hard for some, but whatever. Also, having discipline, whenever you have an emergency, or say there's a car crash and you don't know what to do and everybody's freaking out, it's like ah, and there's a man burning and you're like, okay, everybody calm down. You have to have that discipline in order to call 911. Or if someone is on the floor and you don't know what to do and they probably use CPR, you need to have that discipline inside you, that calmness to just calm down, do what you need to do, and give that person CPR. So the way it goes against all values and demoralizes a person. So for this occasion, I say that all of this fits into it. That again. normalizes you. You, as a person, you don't know who you are. I'd say so. You lose, obviously, the respect and the trust from your people. You're seen differently. And yes, you might have loyalty from some of your female or your male friends. You're like, ah, yeah, man, you did it. I'm so proud of you. But still, if you're, like, inside of you, you know you did wrong. And there's, like, something that stays in there. So.
Thank you very much. Give a round of applause. All right, the group in the back, please explain to us your values.
So, like, we picked, like, so, we picked values, well, we talked about how, like, the values that we picked, why you should have them, and also what happens when you break them, like, in the case, because we're doing, like, a sharp class. So, let me just. So our first one is trust. Like when you're in like a company, you have to trust everybody around you. And after sexual assault, it violates a person's trust. It really kind of just like messes with the entire dynamic of whoever you have to work with, your chain of command and stuff like that. Because normally sexual harassment, even though it's keeping hidden, like that person stops trusting everyone else. That can cause problems like when you're in an active fire situation. And the person next to you doesn't trust you enough to cover them, so people are going to start messing up. It's going to start messing with everybody. It's going to cause problems. Second one is respect. Like, we had a lot of values that they had. Respect everyone we work with, everyone we know. Respect might be earned, but also every person has the inherent trait that they deserve to be respected. Their opinion, what they think, the way they act, who they think they are. And after like assault, if you assault a person, it shows you don't respect their personal space, you don't respect them enough to see them as a person, instead of just a target. Then there was like honesty. Be honest with yourself, know, hey, I messed something up, your conscience inside will tell you that was either right or was wrong. The thing about being honest in sexual harassment cases is that honesty kind of goes out the window on the part of the assault, like the person who committed like the assault, because how many of you think someone who sexually harasses or rapes somebody is going to turn themselves into the cops? That's why. You gotta be honest, and you gotta be like, hey, that wasn't right. Maybe if you find out about it, it doesn't matter who your chain of command is, you send that up the chain of command because it's a matter of safety for you and everyone else in your like platoon or in whatever company you're in. Because if it happens once, it can happen again. So it becomes a safety issue. You have to have personal integrity, which is one of the someone said it was the quality of being honest when nobody's around. So this one is a big one that we saw because you can be honest in front of people. You can be the best person you want, but if you're like the worst person behind closed doors, you're mean, you hurt people, you say hurtful things, that doesn't mean anything. Face value is great, but I think integrity is something that you have to find within yourself. No one's going to force it on you. You have to kind of grow and cultivate yourself. Loyalty, you have to have loyalty to everyone you work with, everyone your chain of command. You have to know, hey, I respect your rank, I'm going to be loyal and dutiful to the United States of America, to my company, to my company commander, to the battalion commander. Like, all of us are loyal to Norwich University. We listen to what Colonel Woods has to say every morning. We get information, we salute because we respect her. We respect what Norwich University stands for. And then honor and honesty were pretty much the same thing. You have to follow an honor code and integrity check yourself constantly. And fortitude was really one of the big ones. Fortitude was having the personal strength to persevere through whatever you go through. So with Rookdom right now, like Rookdom kind of sucks. Like, we wake up at 5:15, we have to PT. We all do stuff we don't like. We can get blasted by our cadre. What it comes down to is whether you think you're strong enough to make it through Rookdom, all 18 weeks of it, or whether you think you're going to drop. Because during situations when you have to find like strength in yourself, you have to dig. Like, I know kids who have to get their tab spring or tab weekend's coming up. That's gonna be the hardest weekend you have. You're gonna have a long run. You're gonna suck. You gotta embrace the suck. That's how it's gonna be. And then discipline. So self-discipline was a huge value we got. It's knowing right from wrong, knowing what's ethically and morally correct, and it's being able to act on that. With discipline, you guys mentioned broke down how we have to like keep it locked on, flip the switch. Flipping the switch is great, but if you just flip the switch for a show, that leads back to integrity. You gotta understand, you gotta believe in what you're doing, what you're saying, what you think. if you're just parroting back what someone wants to hear, that's not going to do anyone any good. You got to actually believe, I am a man or woman of honor and integrity. We will not tolerate people who lie, cheat, or steal. And you got to live your life on that. Doesn't matter who you're friends with, who's telling you to do something wrong. If you know it's wrong, you don't do it. If you get blasted for it, so what? If it means you can sleep at night knowing you did the right thing, then good on you for being able to make that decision. Don't let other people bully you into becoming a person who you don't want to know. Like, excuse my language, but we've all heard about people saying, don't become a shitbag private. Like, if you don't want to do that, have discipline, have, like, the fortitude, the integrity to maintain the standard, to uphold the standard. And that was about it.
Thank you very much. The group in the back, did you guys have any values that they did not have?
I mean, it's gonna be repetitive. We have self-control, I suppose.
Sure. So if you could please explain the values that you have that they did not.
So self-control is abstaining from things that are not moral. So I don't know if people celebrate Lent in here, like me fast, stuff like that. You do things, you pick something to give up. And that's you expressing your self-control to abstain from certain things. So in your everyday life, when you join the army, you abstain from drugs and alcohol to a certain extent. Meaning alcohol being that you don't go and get DUIs because, that's not what you're supposed to be doing. So you practice that, and you focus on respect. You respect your peers, your family, your parents. And all of these values, they're all undermined by sexual assault, because when you sexually assault someone, no one's going to look at you the same. People aren't going to respect you. They're not going to see you the same way. They're not going to trust you. They're not going to be able to confide in you the way they could before, because you're not the same person, because all these values mean nothing after that. So it's pretty short.
Thank you very much.
Don't want to be repetitive.
So we had quite a few of the same values that the other groups did, but we brought it down to a little bit more personal level. So for example, loyalty. I know that people there have loyalty to something bigger than yourself or someone other than yourself. We brought it down a little bit more to where loyalty to where you can have each other's back, where you can say, hey man, I got you. We're gonna get through this together. One that we had that I don't think anybody else did was humility. That's an understanding that you and your people have limits and accepting what those limits are. I heard a quote, or I read it, I don't remember where it's from, but it was, I'm not gonna send my guys somewhere I wouldn't go myself. And I think that's huge, no matter what you're doing, whether you're in the civilian sector, whether you're in the military, no matter what you're doing. If you're not gonna do it yourself, why should you make other people do it for you? And honesty is, a lot of people have honesty, but that's a huge one. Admitting when you're wrong, it doesn't matter if it's sexual assault, or if you're missing a time hack, or it's just whatever it is. You have to be able to admit that you're wrong. But it's more than that. It's not just admitting that you're wrong, but it's going and taking the action to fix it, to make it better, to right the wrong that you just did. And when it comes to sexual assault, it's just a complete disrespect for the person and all their values and everything that they stand for. You're ripping that all away from you. And that comes down to the confidence too. You're breaking the common trust that people have in each other. So you're walking down the street one day and you see someone and you have that trust that they're not going to pull a knife on you. And they're not going to pull a gun on you. Right? You have that trust that you can just walk by, say hello, have a nice morning, and get on with your day. When you sexually assault or harass someone or rape someone, you're breaking that trust in society. Not just people's trust in you, but the general image that people have of each other. And then when you personally, or if someone is sexually assaulted and harassed, or more like when, you're breaking their confidence, their self-esteem, and their courage to stand up for themselves and to be able to go and take action against that. So then, if they don't ever tell anyone, how's that going to fix? That's pretty much what we had. That's not what anybody else said.
Thank you very much. These are so we're going to define the 7 Army values, and then we're going to go find out how sexual assault or sexual harassment goes against those values and how it breaks down our team. So we have loyalty, right? Bear true faith and allegiance to the U.S. Constitution, the Army, the unit, and other soldiers. Duty, fulfill your obligation. Here's a question. Can duty and loyalty ever contradict themselves? Can you tell me why? Go ahead.
So you can be loyal to say like best friend who's in like another platoon, but and like they do something wrong, but like they do something really bad, but like it's your duty to have integrity and like report them like whenever something bad happens, like they get like class 1 or like they do something that could get them a class 1. It's your duty not to overlook that, but loyalty to keep them out of trouble.
Sure, I understand what you're trying to say. Does anybody else have a better explanation? Go ahead.
So, say you're in a combat zone and you get an order from your superior officer to destroy a civilian town. So you may have loyalty to your superior officer and believe what he's saying, that there could be enemy in there, and you can take out all those civilians, or you can have follow your duty and say, hey, that's not right. That's not what we should be doing here. So it's really a contradiction of your faith in someone versus what your duty is to do.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's your duty to stay loyal to your unit, but it's also your duty to do what is lawfully and morally correct. And I think killing a civilian town, it would be your duty to report that, or your duty to not take action on that. You're 100% correct. Would anybody else like to share their example of how duty and loyalty can contradict themselves?
I think like if there's an instance, let's say.
Please speak louder.
I think like one really common example is like you're friends with somebody who's dating this guy, and this guy goes and sleeps with someone else. Like you're loyal to whoever like he decides to sleep with, but it's your duty to like walk up to your friend and be like, hey, this happened. You have to have a serious conversation. Like it doesn't even have to be a huge instance. It happens all the time. It's a conflict of interest, and I think the little scenarios where you have to make the tough decisions build you to become the person who makes the tough decision, but does the right thing in the end.
Thank you very much. Respect. Treat people as they should be treated. Selfless service. Put the welfare of the nation, the army, and your subordinates before your own. Live up to the Army values. Integrity. Do what is right legally and morally. And last but not least, personal courage. Face fear, danger, or adversity, physical or moral. So, now that we know our independent morals, it's important to know that those fall under organizational values as well. Commonly held values can help an organization define its culture and beliefs. When members of an organization subscribe to a common set of values, the organization appears united when it deals with various issues, meaning we can identify that sexual assault is incorrect, right? So we hold ourselves to a higher level to say that it's not something that we would want as part of our values. It all comes down to trust, right? Trust is the bedrock of our profession. Trust between soldiers, trust between soldiers and leaders, trust between soldiers, their families, and the Army, and trust between the Army and the American people. So the impact of sexual harassment, sexual assault against our community, right? In the end, it all erodes trust. It erodes the trust that we have in ourselves. It erodes the trust that we have in our unit, or that our unit might have in that person who's conducted the sexual assault, sexual harassment, as well as the community, right? Because you're part of a bigger organization. You're part of that unit, and the unit's part of the Army. The civilian sector is going to see or hear about something that's going on in that unit. It comes all the way down, right? So all of these things that happen during, including sexual assault, right? It goes against our morals, and at the end, it erodes our trust and breaks down not only ourselves, but our unit, and it can even affect our family and our local community. So, in summary, we identified the seven Army values and its relation to the characteristics of the Army profession. We reflected on the impacts of sexual harassment / assault has on individuals, units, families, and the Army community. Identified how acts of sexual harassment and assault are in conflict with the Army values, warrior ethos, and the characteristics of the Army profession. At this time, is there any questions for me? Great. So what are some things that we can do to help prevent sexual assault or harassment in our unit or here at Norwich University.
Please go on.
And how would you do that? How do you police your own?
Make it blatant that there'll be repercussions if they try something like that. Either tell someone or handle it yourself.
You're gonna go around telling everybody there's gonna be repercussions if they sexually harass or sexually assault somebody?
Other than charge people, I would.
Yeah, okay. Like to see President Snyder going around doing people. But you're right, there should be some kind of boisterous program to help people be aware that if you commit acts of sexual assault, sexual harassment, that there will be punishment. I don't know about him going around telling people. I think he's got a lot to do on his plate, you know what I'm saying? Okay. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
Raising awareness of the issue on campus, and then designating it as a high priority issue that does happen on college campus, and specifically just
Sure, so how do we make it a high priority?
we designate a lot of time to it, so that can be in the form of awareness weeks, information releases to students on an individual email basis, or it could be just coming down from the Tyler Christmas Center, just like before the school year begins, like we all have sharp class, we all talk and figure out what the actual issue was, and ignore that.
Sure.
I know you said to make like more informational things, but a lot of times people don't like those informational things because they're overdone. So there's more creative ways to teach people things that will impact them more than just telling them, if you do this, this will happen to you, this happens here. So they had a woman come recently and she talked about her experience in a talk in the auditorium. That was impactful. So more real life situation examples and how it's changed that person as opposed to someone just reading a PowerPoint.
Or giving a timeline brief. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah. Anything else?
So like try to prevent it before it happens. So like try it by yourself, like to start by yourself. So like apply those values. Like try to have respect for others, have integrity. First with yourself, and then like tell other people to like what to do.
Sure, yeah. Hold your values true to yourself and take responsibility for your actions. I agree 100%. Yeah. If you ain't got nothing, if you all have any other questions, you all are dismissed.